And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Crumbs. Now this is a game that when I saw it on Kickstarter, I was very, very interested by it. The idea of dropping something on the board. I'm definitely on board with that. I like the idea of dropping components, and here you drop crumbs on this board with fences, and they bounce around, and then you try to control those spots. I would not have got it, honestly, based on the cover art. If I saw this at a store, I wouldn't. The back of the box looks like a really fun game. The cover, this just looks extremely amateurish. But it is what it is. It came in. I was excited to play it. Let's take a look. At the beginning of the game, you're going to pick one of the parks that's in the game and put the fences up like that. You got some crumbs here. Now, in this game, the crumbs are going to mostly be these. These are going to be crumbs that get wet and soggy when they land in water, and these are special crumbs that the chipmunks can store later on. Or the squirrels. Sorry, the squirrels can store those. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to take a certain number of daily buzz cards equal to 5 times the number of players. These are kind of event cards. Put them here. Each player has a certain number of crumbs. This is one of the little confusing thing here. This is like a currency / points, but these are also crumbs. You're going to roll dice and put them here. This shows the value of each area. Some areas have values on them, like 2, 2, 2. This is 1, 3, 3, 3. They can be a value of 1 to 3. So the dice rolls are going to change those. Players are going to pick a faction: ducks, chipmunks, pigeons, or squirrels. And at the beginning of the game, you're going to kind of drop them here to show what territory each of these is going to start with. So let's say they all start in these territories here. So you have ducks in the territories, and chipmunks, and squirrels, and pigeons. Those are the ones that are there. And that's it. One person's going to have Granny's favor, this token here, and they're going to start the game. So in the game, which is going to be 5 rounds, each round, whoever's Granny's favor goes first, everyone else goes clockwise. The first thing you do is you draw a card and follow the thing. This says re-roll all the feeder dice immediately. So I'd have to re-roll all these. This is now a 2. This is a 3. This is still a 3. And this one is now a 1. Then the player, after they draw that, they're going to essentially take actions. And the actions are going to cost you a certain number of crumb points. So one thing you can do is you can move. When you move, you'll spend 2 crumb points. And then you can move 3 of your critters from one space to an adjacent space. So I might move there for 2. You can also spend 5. When you spend 5, you basically spawn a new critter in a spot where you already have one on the board. You can pay 2 to drop the dog, and you always drop anything that's dropped gets dropped over the center. Wherever the dog drops, the value of that area becomes a 0. Or you can just pay 5 crumbs and put the dog wherever you want. And then each person also has a special action on their sheet. So the ducks here, for example, have wet wings where they can fly from any space on the board to any single space that has enemies in it and contains a pond. So that's their special ability, and each of the different factions has a special ability. Now, once everyone has done drawing a card and following the actions on it, and to show you more examples of cards, re-roll the feeder dice immediately. Pick up all the critters that are currently in the fountain space, drop them on the center of the board. Re-roll the feeder dice immediately. Perform a drop with 5 breadcrumbs and score them immediately. So that's kind of what's in here. So you are going to drop all the crumbs. So there's 20 crumbs, and we're going to drop the normal crumbs on the board. And this is going to happen, and whoever is in an area is going to get these. Now, I should note that can't be multiple people in the same one. I actually have moved them here to show that about movement and setup. But whenever there's more than one person in the same thing, you have what's called a scuffle. Each person's going to roll a scuffle die, and these are +1, +2, +3 dice. Add it to the number of critters there, and then the winner, so let's say here the duck wins, pushes the other people here, the duck loses, and they get pushed to the fountain area. The fountain area is kind of a dead man zone. You can be there, but you don't get any points or anything. So then you drop the crumbs like this, and they scatter all across the board. And I dropped one on the floor. Crumbs that fall in the water are soggy, and only the ducks can get them. But other than that, and crumbs that land in the fountain, nothing happens to. Other than that, though, each person's going to score points equal to the number of crumbs that are there times the number. So this is worth 6 points here to the ducks. Except when I dropped them, I knocked this chipmunk in, so there would be a scuffle first. This crumb is worth nothing, but the one that's there gives 3 points. Oh, another scuffle here. And this is worth 0 because the dog's there. 1, 2, 3, 4 points for the squirrels. Here, these don't get anything for the squirrels, but 2 times 3, 6 points for the squirrels. And 1, 2, 3 times 2, 6 points for the pigeons. And that's pretty much how a round happens. Then you reset, you'll pull all the crumbs off. The squirrels can usually change one of their crumbs to a brown one, which just stays on the board and counts for them. The dog comes off the board, and we just keep going. And after 5 rounds, whoever has the most points is the winner. There's alternate rules where you can make the game longer or shorter. You can play with different maps, etc. I'm not a fan at all of the artwork in this game. Artwork is obviously very subjective, but it just doesn't do anything, and I wouldn't have got the game, I think, based on the box cover itself. The pieces for the game are pretty nice, though. The crumbs are just, crumbs, but the little ducks and the chipmunks, those look nice. These fences are pretty sturdy once you put them in the board. The dice are okay, and the daily buzz cards are pretty boring. Zoomies. Do a dog drop, Shakespeare in the Park. There's no pictures on any of them. All the different things here, essentially, like pigeons start with 3 on the board instead of 2, and they have a special action. But once you have something, this happens with each of them. For example, when the pigeons have 9 pigeons on the board, flip the card, and then it gets better. You can see it kind of zooms up in here. And now they have a special ability. So now when they're defeated, you can put them in another pigeon space rather than in the fountain space. So this is not that difficult to figure out. The rules themselves were pretty easy to understand. So other than the art, I think the components for the game are fine. I gotta say, I think this is a bad game. And it's for one reason. It's just random as all get out. And it's a little mind-boggling to me that some of the very basic aspects of this game are the way they are. The biggest problem with this game by far is the fact that at the end of the day, what you do doesn't matter. You do all your movement, you go all over the place, but you drop the crumbs after everyone takes their actions. So it doesn't really matter. You can say, well, I'll move to an area with 3 dice. But if no crumbs fall there, it's still worth nothing. Not to mention, you draw an action card at the beginning of each person's turn. So if I'm first and I move a couple guys into an area with 3, then you draw a card, you roll it, that area is now worth 1. What does it matter? There is so much randomness. Every turn you draw an action card, which could change the game. There's take that, drop the dog, but almost no one ever wants to drop the dog. Why? Because you don't know where it's going to land. It could land with your own stuff. So why would I spend my points to drop it where it will land randomly? But, and I could just keep going on and on, but it's the same thing. Drop, random, cards, random, drop dog, random. Yes, you can spend points to put out more creatures, and obviously having more creatures on the board helps, but, and you would have to explain to me for a long time why some of them are not more overpowered than others. I'm sorry, the fact that ducks can have the things that are in the water, if you play with a water-heavy board like this one here, then the ducks just have a huge advantage. I played this with adults, I played this with kids, and with kids they were extremely unhappy with it because they said, I moved here, but then that changed to a 1, or I was in this spot, I spent a lot of stuff to win this spot from somebody else, and then no crumbs landed there. What am I supposed to tell them? Well, it's just the breaks, that's just luck. The concept of this game works fine, but why were the crumbs not dropped and then you moved the animals? That just seems like an obvious little bit more strategy. You could still have luck in the game and everything. You could still have the fights for the different areas in the board. But the fact that you do all this stuff and that there's an event card every turn, this is just a mess of a game. It is a game that will be an exercise in frustration because it has cool things like special abilities. It has action points which you spend to do various things. But none of that matters when at the end of the day, What you do doesn't matter. You move all around, but then the crumbs don't land there. Oh, well, sucks to be you. So why do anything? Why not just say, I hope I win this fight? Oh, well, I guess if you get beaten by someone else and move to the middle, I'll spend some of my points to move out. But it's also a game where the rich get richer. If I get a whole lot of crumbs in one turn, I can do a lot more stuff than you can. Just because I got lucky in turn one. Mind-bogglingly bad this game was for me, which is unfortunate because, well, not to cover, but the rest of it looked pretty cool. I was pretty excited about this one. I moved it up in the queue because it looked like a game I would enjoy. Unfortunately, I can't really recommend Crumbs for kids, for adults, for anyone. It's just too lucky. Dice Tower Judgment, random, random, random.